This is from a 64-year-old man who I would consider to be a high-value individual. He's done very well in life. He's never been married, he's in good shape, he has a lot of friends, he's educated, he's had a lot of girlfriends throughout his life, and so on. But as you'll see in this guy's email, he's old school, and he's going to share with you a whole bunch of scenarios he went through with different girlfriends, and how he handled it compared to how guys typically handle things nowadays, kissing their back, putting them on a pedestal, enabling bad behavior. This guy did the exact opposite, and you'll see how he's had a damn good life all right, and I'm doing this to show you how things were done old school, before the feminist movement really had an impact on the masses, particularly young men, additionally influencing those young men to become mature adult men. You're going to see all these different situations with these girlfriends. You're going to get a good laugh, and hopefully this will show some of you guys that are into relationships how things should be handled when your girlfriend gets disrespectful. You don't put up with bad behavior, and this guy doesn't either. So in the email he says, "I'm 64 years old and have never been married. I'm very good looking and was very athletic in my younger years. I had a good job in a large company and made a good living. I bought a big house in Toronto in the late 1980s and paid it off in 5 years and 3 months. Hey, this guy's way ahead of his time. I mean, back in those days, everyone got married and all that, but not this guy. He definitely saw things for how they were and where they were going. He says, "In my 20s, I only had 2 girlfriends and had some one-nighters. Many times women would come up to me in my 30s and 40s. I had several girlfriends and they all wanted to get married but not me." I'm going to guess this guy was more focused on his purpose, and obviously school, or whatever it was to get him where he wanted to be, to do well for himself. He said, 30s and 40s is a time when he had lots of girlfriends, and they all wanted to get married because that's the time period that they're just dying to get a guy. This guy is obviously valuable, and trying to get him was futile. Now pay attention to the scenarios he's about to present when the girls become difficult. He claims that it is best to date a woman for a year or more because her true personality will eventually emerge. I have a few pointers for some younger men in relationships. Yes, as I've said many times before, you guys rush into relationships for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that it can take a while to see her true colors. It could take at least 3, 4, or 5 months for her true colors to emerge, and sometimes even longer due to women's ability to conceal them. They are masters of concealment, and you must be with her in a variety of situations and scenarios to see how she reacts and responds. Is she a nutcase or does she act like a mature adult who handles things calmly and easily? It takes time for those things to happen. Some of you guys are impatient. So here are a few of his situations over the years that you guys will enjoy. He says, "One weekend my girlfriend came over. She sat down. After a while she started complaining. She was going on and on. I told her she's a guest in my house, and I'm not going to put up with her bad behavior. I told her to take her stuff and get out. This immediately put her on the defensive. She changed her tone. There was a bus stop down the street, and I told her again to get out. She walked away with her tail between her legs. She treated him with dignity for weeks until her mental emotions surfaced again. Soon after, she was gone. So she's over at his house, she's being difficult, and he calls her out on it, eventually saying, 'Hey, get out. I'm not going to tolerate your disrespect and your bad behavior in my house.' How many guys do you think have the guts to say that nowadays? No way, because they'd be afraid of upsetting her, and she'd end their relationship. They simply put up with her bad behavior. Guys, when women or anyone treat you disrespectfully, you don't tolerate it because you're inviting more bad behavior. And I might add, here come the sirens. When women do that, they're sometimes testing you. They're testing your strength to see if you'll stand up to them because, in general, women, particularly feminine women or women who are more in touch with their feminine side, want a guy who is strong, a leader, and masculine. Now, a masculine man who respects himself will not tolerate any disrespectful behavior. For those who have either been around small children or have small children, you know that kids are constantly testing the boundaries with their parents or adults. After you lay down the law, they stop testing. But after a while, they'll do it again because there are many similarities. Many women dislike being compared to children, but their behavior can be compared to children in many ways, especially when emotions are present. I don't make women and men okay. I'm not justifying their actions. I'm simply explaining how things are. It's the harsh reality. On to the next situation, he says, "Different girl. She started ranting and I told her to get out. She said she's not leaving. I called the cops and told them I had a trespasser on my property, and they came and escorted her out. She treated me with dignity for a short time before leaving. After that, it was on to another girlfriend. Another girl, she started whining. I asked what time it was, showed her my watch, and it said 3 o'clock. He said he wasn't sure what time it was, and she began whinging. After half an hour, I said you've been constantly whining for 30 minutes, and I tried to be sensitive to your needs and desires. But I don't want to hear any more moaning and complaining, so you effing shut up. I yelled effing shut up in her face, and she didn't say anything for at least 4 to 5 days. It was the best time of our relationship, but she left soon after. I don't listen after about 30 minutes, he says. Another example. She stated that we have been dating for 9 months but still not married. Why should we get married? I stated logically that you had just told me for the previous half hour how horrible I was. Why would you want to marry such a jerk? What's the matter with you? You've got to be crazy. She remained silent until I persuaded her to question her own sanity. I would never marry her. She quickly left. All of the women will want to get a commitment sooner or later. And at that point, for your relationship guys, you either know they're going to get drama like this and you cut them loose, or you cave, and you know that's going to end. He says here women are emotional children. I retired early from my high-tech job years ago, and I had a wonderful life with well-educated and successful friends. This is the life I want for all of you. You have money, freedom, great friends, you're healthy and in shape, you do whatever you want, and you don't take crap from anyone. This guy is old school, as I previously stated. He says, I now have a girlfriend and she has her own house and her own money. She treats me well. When she comes over for the weekend, she buys me beer, then cooks and cleans my house. I finally found a good woman who was also attractive, but I'll never marry her because she is very smart and accepts it because she loves me. Absolutely correct. She knows she doesn't want to lose this guy, so she accepts this. This guy's 64 years old, and I guarantee he'll her in the same exact way as the other girlfriends over the years, which I read earlier. He does not cave. He is consistent and congruent in who he is and his views, and that will not change for anyone. Years ago, my mother would say, why don't we marry this girl or that one? He says, I told her that I will never marry and that I do not want some B-word to take half of my money. I can go to an escort a few times a week for the rest of my life, and it won't cost half my house or my money. My mom laughed, and getting girlfriends was easy for me. I hope some of this information is useful to some young men who are dealing with women. Put them on the defensive and make them question themselves if you don't put up with them. Use your logic because they don't. That was a fantastic story, and it's great to hear that this is an example of how men should be. Remember, if you're watching this, you don't tolerate disrespect. Don't forget to hit the like button to help spread the word about this video. Thank you for taking your daily dose of red pills, and remember that a red pill a day keeps bad poker hands away. So have a good rest of your day and cheers.